Are you looking to buy a home built pre-1950s? You'll need to consider the type of wiring that the home has. For instance, it could be copper, it could be aluminum, or it could be knob and tube. So that's what we're talking about today, knob and tube wiring that may be found in older homes built pre-1950s. So any homes built in the early 1900s to 1940s. If it hasn't been completely rewired, then
Mhm.
this is something that you're gonna wanna watch.
Absolutely. Yep. And it's funny because they were saying that where when I was doing my research on this, also having sold in New Westminster when I first started selling real estate, every house, so many houses, not every house, but so many houses were heritage, and people really love that heritage style home. And then
Mhm.
you go into the basement, and if it hasn't been completely redone, like you said, with new electrical, sometimes you can still see the old knob and tube wiring hanging between the joists, and they just use it as a clothesline.
Yeah, yeah. Well, some of the things about, this knob and tube wiring, and this is stuff like in the number of years that I've been selling real estate, and it's not so common now that we see knob and tube. Um, and, honestly, some people don't even recognize what it is, and part of the reason that they don't recognize what it is because there's not very many homes that have it left. But what buyers need to be aware of when they're looking at an older home, and I always say this, old house, old problems, right?
Yes.
So,
Yep.
you're buying an old house. So with that, you have to realize that there are going to be things. And even, and this is, I feel really, really strongly about a home inspection on an older home. Uh,
Absolutely.
and the reason is that they can find a lot of these things. So even though we can look in the basement, we can see that there's no visible lines, or there we may not even see them all, right?
There's some gaping holes that the average person could see and say, okay, there's a deficiency. But
That's
home
right.
inspectors, they're trained and they're highly skilled so that they can see problems that the regular quote unquote person wouldn't be able to spot necessarily. They could look at it and not even know it's a problem.
That's right, and I always tell people, what I mean, it could be running up the walls, it could be running across the attic, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, there's so many different places, like, people can see a new panel on the, on the property, and, see some newer wiring, this kind of stuff, and there still be remnants. And actually, I just received a call recently from somebody, who was discussing with me about a line of, knob and tube that was found in their house.
Oh,
Yeah, and they didn't have a home inspection, in this highly competitive market. It's something that a lot of buyers are opting out on.
of course.
And, yeah, so anyhow, those people are gonna get an electrician in, they're gonna have to see what the cost is around that, and how much is there, right? I mean, so some of the things that buyers have to be aware of is, if they're willing to, undertake the expense, but I think buyers need to have some education up front, right? So
Absolutely.
typically, knob and tube is an older wiring, that, uh, basically it doesn't meet the demands of today's electrical needs, right?
That's
Essentially.
right. Yeah. So like basically it doesn't have a ground wire, right? So electricity and building codes, everything is built in such a way that it has a ground wire, and the black and white wires and the ground wires, they're all packaged together. And also it prevents shock, obviously, with having the ground wire there. So the thing is with the knob and tube wiring is that it has the black and the white separate, with no ground. So if it comes anywhere near water, then that's a huge problem because it shocks very, very quickly. And then also it can also heat up. So if it touches something else, then now you have a risk of fire. Also, it can't support
I
anything.
wanna I wanna add that
Yeah,
just because the home has knob and tube wiring, it doesn't mean that the house is in imminent danger of burning down.
100%. Absolutely. Because you could still have it and it's just not active.
That's right, but it can be, an issue with home insurance. I mean, that's the biggest concern. Oh, biggest concern.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think home insurance companies have been, I think, enforcing the upgrades and the elimination of knob and tube wiring for a number of years now. Because I remember close to 10 years ago when I was in New West, I mean, I remember that was an insurance topic of conversation that was pretty top of mind. Now, again, like you said, we're not seeing it as much because I think so many people over the last 10 years have upgraded their electrical, for fire safety reasons as well.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, you definitely, like you said, you do see it. And yeah, best thing to know is if it's active, or if it's live,
Yeah.
or if it's been decommissioned and it's just
Yes.
nobody's bothered to take it out of the house yet.
And that's a great point, because sometimes there will be still some of the wiring left in, but it's not connected,
For
right?
sure.
It's been disconnected. But again, the only way you're going to know that is either having a home inspection, or having an electrician come in and doing a thorough inspection top to bottom, right? So let's get into, if somebody finds it, I mean, we've got a picture up here of what it looks like.
Yep.
Right? So just to give people an idea of what it looks like,
Mhm.
um, the cost of replacing knob and tube can vary depending on the size, the overall condition, age of
Yep.
the property, access to the wiring, because sometimes you may have to get it out of the walls. So the
Yep.
electrician may have to cut through the walls, and then you're getting into replacing drywall. Um, so it's best to consult with a licensed electrician to get an accurate estimation of
Mhm.
what you can expect for a project like this. And like we said, some of the ways to tell if it has knob and tube, you are going to look in areas, that are visible to us. I mean, you can't really take light switches off, but that's a commonplace up in the attic. Again, you can't on visual inspections be looking for that.
Yep.
But basements, you can look for any of these white ceramic knobs, but again, they have to be connected.
For sure. Yeah. And don't check them yourself. I mean, this is a very, it could be potentially very dangerous. So I mean, if it's decommissioned and it's not live, then use them as clothes hangers. That's fine. But definitely get a professional to come and check it. Um, don't DIY this. Definitely for safety reasons and for fire hazards and for other
Great, great,
precautions. Bring
great,
somebody in. Yeah.
great point. And sometimes the insurance companies too, you have to check with your individual insurer what their rules are. But some of them will continue to insure for a period of time. Some of them won't. It all comes down to, at the end of the day, what the cost will be for insuring the property.
Yep.
So definitely insurance is something you want to look into. If you're already a homeowner with something like this, then you're going to want to get an electrician in, find out about remediation of this, and then you're going to have to talk to your insurance company about it.
Yep. And if you do get, like, if you're thinking of selling as well, and you have some knob and tube wiring, but it has been decommissioned, get an electrician to give you a letter and say there's no live knob and tube. Like, get somebody certified and just get something in writing so that you have something that you can show to the prospective buyer and just say, hey, I've done my due diligence. I'm making a declaration that a professional has come in here and given my property an assessment as far as the
Or
electrical goes.
or get a pre list inspection, home inspection.
Pre-list inspection, absolutely. That's such a great idea. Yep.
Or here in Ontario, we have the Electrical Safety Authority that you can pay for them to come in. They'll go through, check out all your wiring, and give you a certificate stating that the wiring is safe. So
Yep.
that would be after remediation. I mean, an electrician,
Yep.
if they're changing it out, is going to apply to the Electrical Safety Authority anyways.
Mhm.
But some great tips and some great points. So post your comments below. We've got some
Yes.
more videos coming up, and we're going to be talking about copper versus aluminum in our next video. So you're going to want to hit the
Mhm.
subscribe button and check out our next video right here.
Absolutely. See you guys next Friday.